The debris is consistent with the catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber.
A horrifying ending to what was supposed to be a once-in-a-lifetime adventure to see the Titanic on the ocean floor. The U.S. Coast Guard now says that the Titan submersible suffered a catastrophic event with no survivors just an hour and 45 minutes into its dive. U.S. Navy sensors heard what is now believed to be the implosion on Sunday and notified Incident Command. But the Navy is telling NBC News that without conclusive visual evidence, the multi-nation search had to continue. It's just one of several questions, including the composite metal used on the craft, that are being raised today as investigators try to piece together a timeline for the catastrophic end of the mission. NBC News has confirmed that the Coast Guard is going to lead the investigation into the disaster, aided by the NTSB. NBC's Kristen Dahlgren joins us live from Boston, and oceanographer and deep-sea explorer David Gallo as well. Kristen, you've been there from the beginning. Incredibly tragic. But there are so many questions about this. What are the leading theories?
Right. And so while this was a rescue operation for so many days, those ships on the scene have now begun to head back towards the port in Canada. But there are still the remote operated vehicles who are searching for some answers here. So we do know that the military picked up this anomaly on Sunday. It was consistent with some type of explosion or implosion right around the time that the submersible lost communication. So they are looking at that. They're also now doing this investigation, and it will be headed up by the Coast Guard, as you said, with the assistance of the NTSB, trying to piece this all together. And so that involves continuing to look at that debris field. But keep in mind that a lot of the things that we've been talking about over the past few days about how difficult it is to conduct any type of search at that depth will now apply to that. So it's still unclear whether they would be able to bring pieces of that submersible up to the surface for analysis. They're looking at that carbon fiber hull, looking for pieces of it to see what state it's in. And so that's where the investigation is now, trying to determine what happened. But the U.S. will be taking the lead in that, Andrea.
And we had an interview, NBC News had an interview with the aunt of the young man who died with his father, Pakistani businessman, so tragically. Let me play that for you.
He had a sense that this was not okay, and he was not very comfortable about doing it. To know that my Sully didn't feel a moment's pain, that his brain didn't even realize, that's relief.
Kristen, he didn't want to go. He was just trying to please his dad.
Right. And you know, the family saying perhaps some comfort in this outcome versus thinking about them, you know, running out of air, but still just an excruciating time for the families. This was a 19-year-old man. He was in university, and he said to his aunt that he was terrified to go. But it was Father's Day on Sunday, and this was something that he wanted to do for his dad, who was, you know, a long-time fanatic about the Titanic and was so interested and fascinated by it. And it was his dad's dream to go down, and so he accompanied his dad, and really just a difficult time for all of those families, and our hearts go out to them.
David Gallo, you helped map this area of the seafloor. The Titan debris was found about 1,600 feet from the Titanic bow, we understand. Talk about this area and how teams would conduct a forensic study on the seafloor.
Well, hi, Andrea. The seafloor there is fairly smooth and flat, and not far from the Titanic debris field. And you can use robotics to be very methodical about going back and forth across the seafloor like mowing a lawn. And with things like high-resolution cameras and LiDAR, laser imaging, you can really map the very fine details and pick out things that belong to the submarine, for instance, and things that belong on the seafloor. So it's very possible to do that.
And you also worked with James Cameron, of course, the Titanic director who dived to that wreck 33 different times. He says that the same hubris that sent Titanic to its end, with the captain of the ship ignoring the Marconi warnings, also was evident here. Let's play what James Cameron had to say.
That ship's lying at the bottom of the ocean, not because of the nature of its steel or the nature of its compartments, but just because of bad seamanship. The captain was warned. There were icebergs ahead. It was a moonless night, and he plowed ahead for whatever reason. I think there was some greed, there was some glory in it, and here we are again, and at the same place. You know, now there's one wreck lying next to the other wreck for the same damn reason.
I mean, he was saying that the composite used and ignoring some safety protocols led to this tragedy. Do you agree?
Yeah, well, I think that's the most obvious conclusion. We'll have to wait until the forensic studies are done, but that certainly is the way things are leaning right now. I mean, I'm sure there are other causes, so we'll have to see.
Just quickly explain, instead of using steel, which is used on the Navy subs, our subs, on this submersible, they used a composite with titanium. And the theory is that it could not handle the pressure, that it started separating, or might have had stress fractures because they had done so many previous dives with it.
Yes, well, that composite is very strong in tension when you pull it apart. But of course, the sea's squeezing things together in compression, and it's really not designed for that. But it was put together in such a way that it should have been. You know, and there'll be a very good look at that too to find out if that was studied in the proper way to make this as safe as. You know, having all the tests in the world doesn't preclude having an implosion. It happens, but you want to minimize those risks, and I think a lot of attention will be paid to that. Did they really minimize every risk in this case?